2, you have been absolutely awesome this week, retrieving information from the text about all the different explorers and keeping yourself very busy with all those reading games yesterday. So I thought today we could have a wonderful relax and a bit of a book babble. Nothing better than reading for pleasure. So I have got my cosy blanket, I have got my cup of tea, I have got my basil, and I have got my book. But before we do that, we're going to have a look at some of the work that you've been sending in. Now, all these children have answered the questions about the explorers really well. I'm really impressed with how they have looked for the keywords in the question so that they could then find those words in the text and write their answers out clearly. So a dojo point to each of the children. Well done. What a lot of fantastic work there was there. Well done, everyone. Now, before we start our Cosy Book Babble session, we are going to use our eyes to do some word spotting. We have been retrieving all week and we've been using skimming and scanning with our eyes to spot keywords in the text. Well, we're going to have a look at one particular word. I'm going to show it you now. Did you know the is the most used word in the English language? Well, if you didn't before, you do now. And this is the word that we're going to train our eyes to skim and scan for. Now, you can look for this word anywhere you like. You can hunt around your house for the word, maybe find it in your favourite book, maybe find it in some packets in the kitchen, maybe find it on a leaflet or a letter that's come through the door, or you could try and spot it on your daily walks. I'm off out on my walk now to see if I can find the word the. Now, you might choose to spot some words when you're out and about on your daily exercise. I'm not sure I'm going to spot many words out here in the woods, but I'm going to have a good look. Well, the only thing I found was a sign in the middle of the woods, and that had a couple of examples of the word the. Can you find them too? Have a good look. You might choose to search around your house for the word the. I found it on the front cover of A Boy and a Bear in a Boat. Can you spot it? And I found it in a letter from one of our friends that we have pinned up on our fridge. I can even spot it a couple of times on our 4Bs poster. Now it's your turn to have a little pause of the video and go and find the word the. Use your eyes to skim and scan for those 3 letters and take photos of what you see. I will be awarding Creativity Dojo points for the most unusual places you can find the word the. So get spotting. Right, well done everyone. I am now ready for my book babble section. And like any good book babble, not only are we going to have a little bit of time reading, so you're going to choose your favourite book, or maybe just a new book you fancy reading, and we're going to have 10-15 minutes of quiet reading. So you'll be able to pause our video and just enter your world of your book. But while you're doing it, I'd like you to have a little think. Now, with any book babble session, we have the book part, that's the reading, and we have the babble part, where we talk or think about what we've read. Now, I would like you to think, as you're reading your book, of 3 words that best describe the book you're reading. So, for example, The Great Explorer, which we were reading last week, could be described as thrilling, because it's very exciting, colourful, because the illustrations are very bold and bright, and adventurous, because Tom goes on that adventure to rescue Dad. So those are the 3 words that best describe The Great Explorer. While you're reading, I would like you to think of the 3 best words that describe your book. Okay, now it's time for the book babble to start. Don't forget choose a book and then read it quietly for the next 10 or 15 minutes. What a lovely way to spend that time, just quiet reading. Now, I have chosen a book called Me and Mr. P, and I've noticed that there is a polar bear in a boat on the front, which reminds me of another book. Another book that I will be reading in a short while. Now, I'm hoping to really enjoy this book, and I'm going to be using my brain as I'm reading to think of those 3 words that I could use to describe my book. Make sure you're doing the same. Okay, so now it's book babble time. You can pause the video and enjoy your 10 or 15 minutes of quiet reading of the book that you have chosen. Don't forget to think of the 3 best words that describe it. You can take a photo of yourself reading and send it in to us at the Year 2 email address along with the 3 words that describe the book you're reading. Or maybe you could just tell us the book and those 3 words. Don't forget to come back for some more chapters of The Boy, a Bear and a Boat. Okay, welcome back. We're going to listen to the next chapters in A Boy, a Bear and a Boat. And last time we read, they had spotted the Harriet through the telescope and were on their way. Back on board. Eager, strong and steady, the bear swam. Fast. He ploughed through the water, his nose just above the surface, his legs churning a white plume. The boy sat up on his shoulders, ecstatic and alive. They were soon there. The boy stepped up on the bear's head and climbed into the Harriet. The bear dropped in the suitcase, then pulled himself up after it, tipping the boat towards him as he did so. He flopped into the little boat, and they sat there dripping either side of the centre seat as the boat rocked back to stillness. The bear, though he was soggy and tired, seemed to glow with regained energy. He sat up straight and alert. He smiled, and his eyes were full of life again. The boy grinned, stood up, and leaned over to him. He took off the hat and perched it on the bear's head. "Welcome home, Captain," he said. The bear said nothing. He just adjusted the hat slightly on his head and sat back down at his seat, wiggling his bottom a little as he did so, as if working it into place. Then he took up the oars and began to row. Splish, splish, splish. The boy climbed onto the seat and sat there thinking. He was back in the stupid little boat with the smelly old bear, rowing them who knows where, and with no idea when or if they might eat again. And he was utterly content. "Fancy a game of I Spy?" he said. Said the bear. "Don't mind if I do." Stormy. Splish, splish, splish. They had played I Spy for a long while, and then, when the boy could stand it no longer, he had gracefully declined another round and reread the comic a couple of times. He didn't even want to think about when they'd last eaten, but his hunger had been there for so long that he'd become used to it. It was normal now, and he didn't really notice it. The bear was humming quietly to himself. He stopped rowing and looked round at where they were heading, off to the horizon, then turned back, looked up at the boy, took off his hat, scratched his head a moment, put the hat back on. Tea breaks and sleeping aside, this was about as long a break from rowing as the boy had ever seen him take. Then the bear squinted, tilted his head to one side, stared off past the boy. Something dark and fearful flickered across his face, a brief glimpse of some worry that he had quickly hid away again. The boy had only half noticed it, but it was enough to make him ask. "What's wrong?" he said, turning to look behind him, and feeling a sharp blast of wind on his face as he did. "I spy with my little eye something beginning with C," said the bear, nodding his head to indicate something behind the boat. Surprised, the boy turned his head and stared in the direction the bear had indicated. The boy could just make out a single small light grey cloud a long way behind them. He turned back to the bear. "More inclement weather on the way?" asked the boy cheerily. "Can we row towards it? I could use some rain." "No," said the bear. "Besides, it'll be on us soon enough." "Why are you worried about that little thing?" said the boy. "And in any case, it's miles away." He turned round again to look. The cloud was indeed still a long way away, but it was closer now, and bigger, and darker. The boy watched it, scared and fascinated. He could see it growing, gaining on them, and darkening before his eyes. He could hear the tempo of the bear's rowing increase, and the noise of the oars striking the water grow louder and deeper as the bear pulled on them harder, pushing the boat faster than ever. But the cloud was moving faster still, barging towards them full of menace and violence. Looking back to the bear, he caught another glimpse of worry. His fur bristled in the rising wind. "Will it be bad?" said the boy. The bear looked him straight in the eye. "Yes," he said, "it will be bad." As he said it, he was thrown into darkness. The boy turned again and saw that the cloud, a brooding black mass, was almost on top of them now. "Okay," said the boy. "What do we do?" "Hang on mostly," said the bear. "This will be an interesting one." The sea was waking now, stretching and flexing its muscles, then bending, dancing, thumping and bumping and rocking and rolling the boat. The wind came at them hard too, whipping the boy's hair into his eyes and picking up spray from the sea and throwing it at them. The boy looked up through stinging eyes. The cloud was all he could see of the sky now, looming like a bully, dark and cruel and threatening. And then the rain started. There was no gentle instruction, no gradual progression from dryness to drizzle. And then on to the rain. Instantly there were hard shafts of water pounding down upon them, pummelling them. He looked at the bear, already hard to see through the raging downpour. His face was set and his head was in constant motion, looking all around, watching the waves and doing the best he could to keep the Harriet level, jabbing at the water with one or other of the oars, steering them through the chaos. He was utterly consumed with the task in hand, and concerned, but not truly afraid. It was clear, even though the boy could only catch glimpses of him through the rain and spray and crashing waves, that he was relishing the challenge. He was fighting the sea, and didn't know who would win. The boy wondered if that had ever happened before. They were ankle-deep in water now, and the boy risked bailing with cupped hands whenever the boat seemed steady enough that he didn't need to hold on tight. The rain bore down on them one way and the wind tore at them another, while the sea, bucking beneath them, tossed playfully about. "This is what you call interesting, then, is it?" shouted the boy, with as much bravado as he could muster. But he could barely hear himself above the rain and the raging sea, and the bear was too consumed by his task to pay him any attention beyond the occasional glance. The waves were like mountains now, and despite the bear's best efforts to keep the Harriet from being buried under them as they crashed down, enough spray had splashed in that the little boat was filling with water. Then the sea picked them up. A gigantic wave rose beneath them, lifting them absurdly high and holding the Harriet teetering at its peak. They seemed to hang there for a moment, still and calm, high above the furious waves. And then the tickling foam beneath the Harriet's hull tipped them from their perch and sent them plunging down a cliff face of water, crashing into the sea below. The impact threw the boy from the seat, out over the side of the boat. He saw the water churning and angry, waiting to embrace him, rising to meet him in slow motion. It hadn't occurred to him how calm he had been up until now, up until the moment he became entirely helpless. And even now he was more shocked than terrified. He gasped the biggest breath he'd ever taken, and no expectation of ever taking another. Then a mighty tug on his arm pulled him back, landing him back in the boat. He looked up, his arm aching, and saw the bear still fighting the waters with one oar, the other lost to the waves as he grabbed the boy. The bear gave the boy a briefest, smallest smile. The boy smiled back. And then the Harriet span suddenly around, and the remaining oar, dug deep into the water, was wrenched from the bear's paw. It flew free, and the handle smacked the bear hard on the head. For a fraction of a second he merely looked surprised. Then his eyes closed and his body crumpled as consciousness deserted him. The boy leapt up, reaching out to him, grabbing hold of one limp paw. Then the immense wave that had just dropped down began to break above them. The boy stared up at it defiantly, held on hard to the bear, and braced himself. He took his next breath, and then the tower of water folded and crumbled and crashed down onto the Harriet in a mighty rush of noise and fury, and everything went black. Calm. The bear awoke. This in itself was something of a surprise. His head hurt, but that seemed like a reasonable trade-off for not being dead. He was lying on his back and the sun was in his eyes. He blinked and squinted and a hazy shadow took shape before him. "Hello, Bear," said the boy, who was sitting on his stomach holding the ukulele. "My ukulele," said the bear, rather groggily. "You're the boat. This is the paddle," said the boy, holding it up. "Hope you don't mind." The bear turned his head and realised that he was floating on his back in the sea, an agreeably calm sea, with something hard and buoyant holding his head up. "I managed to hold on to your suitcase," said the boy. "The storm started to die down after you got knocked out, and I used it to keep you afloat." "That can't have been easy," said the bear. "I managed," said the boy. The bear was still looking out to his side rather than the boy. There was wreckage in the water around them. "Harriet," he said. "I'm sorry," said the boy. The bear looked up at him again now. A sadness seeped onto his face, softened, and then ebbed away. The boy watched it come and go, much as he had expected. "Can't be helped," said the bear. "Thank you for keeping me afloat." "You're welcome," said the boy. The end. Splish, splish, splish. It's quite a stretch for the boy, perched on the bear's belly, to reach down to the water with the ukulele to row. It dips only part way in, and every so often he has to empty out the water that accumulates inside it. They are making slow progress. "You know, if you played the banjo, we'd be going much faster now," said the boy. "Sorry about that," said the bear. "That's okay," says the boy. "Do you know where we're going?" says the bear. "Yes," says the boy. Splish, splish, splish. "You could kick your feet a bit, you know, if you wanted to help out." "Oh, yes," said the bear. "Okay." The bear kicks his feet a bit, and they move on, rising and falling together over the gentle swell of the water. "Now we're getting somewhere," says the boy. "Jolly good," said the bear. And after a pause, "Do you think we're nearly there yet?" The boy looks ahead and away to where the sun is sinking into the sea. "Yes, Bear," he says. "I'm sure we are." And the boy paddles and the bear kicks his feet, and after a while they sing a little, and they disappear over that flat blue horizon and towards another. Well, it doesn't look like we're ever going to find out whether the boy and the bear ever got to where they were going. But it was a lovely story, and I really, really liked the friendship that grew between the boy and the bear, even though it became quite rocky in some points. I like how they grew to respect and trust each other in the end. Tune in next week when we will have another story for you. Take care. Bye-bye.